I'm currently standing in front of a hotel near Fort Meade, a military base located in central Maryland. Between active duty forces, reservists, and civilian workers, the United States military employs almost 3 million people, making it one of the largest armed forces in the entire world. The men and women who comprise its 6 branches fill out a variety of roles, from intelligence collection to engineering to even meteorology. The size of our military is somewhat of a point of contention. There are some who see its size as excessive, inviting escalation and a use it or lose it approach to troops and weapons of war. Others believe that the US military provides an irreplaceable service to the world, and as far as they're concerned, the bigger the better. But that debate is not the subject of this video. Today, we'll be hearing from 3 service members as they peel back the camouflage-colored curtain and reveal what living and working in the United States military is really like. Happy Memorial Day, and welcome to Thought Cabin.
So I was originally slotted to be what in the Air Force we call aerospace medical technician.
Okay.
Failed out of that, happens. So they moved me to biomedical equipment technician.
Okay.
Failed out of that. And I ended up what we call in the Air Force aircraft metals technology.
Okay.
So not really an engineer, I'm more of a welder and a machinist.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I did not originally sign up to be that. It just happens.
So I was petty officer second class when I left the Navy, which is an E5. I think the Navy ranking names are a little bit...
It's all different in every branch, right? It's a little bit different everywhere.
Yeah. Officers are all the same except for Navy. I guess Space Force might be different.
Or have some cool, same, like... head guardian type situation.
Like that.
Yeah, something crazy.
First of all, I want to say thank you for this interview again. It's so nice of you just to be interested in something that's just like, I don't know, very basic. Like,
it's nice of you to be available for it.
Because there's so many people that have done this, but I'm like, oh, this is fun. I get to talk about it.
Yeah.
I'm a reservist, so I was only active for 1.5 years, and that was in training, and I've been in the reserve for almost 4 years now. When you go on your annual training period, like your AT period, that's your 2 weeks during the summertime or during that fiscal year. And that's only real time that you get to forecast in the reserves, but being a meteorologist is more about like, it's like the cool small details. You know, you have to forecast the illumination of the moon. Or if a recon mission wants to go out, they need to know the light of the moon to adjust their NVGs. Or maybe we could test the enemy's capabilities. You know, they can't use their night vision goggles in such low illumination, so we should attack. Or we can test the soil for troop movement. Or we can say that we can like do like more, you know, accurate forecasting in the desert. You know, you log onto your iPhone or whatever. You're just gonna sing a ping to the enemy about where you're at, and it's like, oh. I mean, that's happened before, like on like ships and stuff. You know, they'll log into Snapchat, and then all of a sudden, everybody knows where we are.
Big mistake, yeah.
So my motivation for joining was I didn't really have any way to pay for school. I went to college for a bit, and then I was in kind of a difficult financial position. I was living with friends, and my friends lived out in the mountains, so I didn't really have access to good transportation to get like a job or anything like that. So joined the Navy, and that basically fixed most of my problems.
Okay, I joined the Air Force. Let's see. I was 19. It was 2019. And for context, I had just gotten kicked out of uni.
Right.
Yes, 1 year at uni, got kicked out for academic reasons. And kind of, enlisting overall seemed like a logical step to actually have a job.
A job, yeah, for sure.
Yes, and like I had family members that had previously served.
Would you say like, you know, like the idea kind of came to you individually, or like you had some like, I don't know, coaching or coaxing from like family members to do it? Or
no, it was mostly just myself.
Okay, yeah.
So when I was 17, I decided I wanted to go into the delayed entry program. And that basically means like you get your parents to sign because you're not 18 yet.
Right.
And I decided that like probably like the end of my senior year, and I got to work out with the Marines, and I had a pretty good recruiter, Staff Sergeant Lassiter. So
you were doing workouts with them before you were like officially in it? I didn't even know that.
Oh yeah, so like when you go to your Marine Corps recruiting office and you're like, I want to be a Marine, they're like, oh, okay, we have these PTs. You want to come to these PTs with us to get in shape? PT means physical training. Yeah, I was like, yeah. And I don't know, I got pretty fast by going to those because I was like, it's super competitive. People that want to be in the Marines, they're like really competitive.
It's the best of the best, right?
It's not the best of the best, but everybody just like loves to be competitive.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So it wasn't actually too bad in terms of getting used to it. You just have to get a bit more used to. It's somewhat more rigid, and also it just depends where you are in the Air Force. The Air Force can be incredibly compartmentalized in work culture between like medical and maintenance, which may as well be totally different universes. But I think really the main difference is that you can't really jump rungs of the ladder. You have to go to your section chief, then your flight chief, instead of just going right to your flight chief, unless you have some extenuating circumstance. Like
I've heard of cases where people enter through like officer school, right? But
I wanted to Paris Island, went on the bus, was trying to like make friends on the bus because I got really bored.
Yeah.
And then we get there and they're just like yelling and screaming. I'm like, oh, here we go. Da 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 da. Let me go stand on these yellow footprints or whatever and get screamed at. And then you go into this other room and then there's like probably like a Latina lady screaming at you.
Yeah. Was she short?
Yeah.
Oh.
She looked at me like she hated me. And I looked at her like I was confused. Like I didn't understand the culture yet. And then you go into the first like 2 weeks is like your receiving drill instructor. And they basically like teach you what it's going to be like when you get to your real platoon. My receiving drill instructor was all right. I did notice like I thought it was going to be way more professional. Like they teach you to roll your sleeves and they're like they use like some pretty derogatory language.
Like
teaching you to like roll your. They're like you have to finger fuck your sleeves and stuff like that. And it's like women saying this.
That's
like,
crazy.
What the hell?
Yeah.
I was just like, man, these people are just like gross and weird.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Did you find that like you became gross and weird, or did you stay like
over the years? Yes.
Yeah.
I think becoming gross and weird is like part of the process.
I think it's acceptable sometimes. Sometimes it's like a good thing to just allow yourself to be like that,
The 6 months before I went into the Navy, I lost, I think, about 50 pounds. And when I went in, it was about 2 months. Everybody else lost weight and I gained weight. So that was my main thing, was being able to eat regularly again was nice. But everybody else was, I guess my naval training time, my time in boot camp was mostly boring. So for the Navy, a lot of what command is trying to do is they're trying to change a lot of culture in the Navy. So a lot of what we were doing was following procedures. So they would have us sit down on our knees and very slowly fold shirts and label shirts.
Interesting. Like you're working at a store.
Right, but they had everybody like sat down and then they would just do very, very slow, be very, very patient. You have to wait for the next step. And if you don't, you're going to be doing some physical training.
Interesting.
There's also a lot of physical training going on, lots of running, marching, following directions, listening to stuff, taking tests. But actually, physically, it wasn't that hard.
Okay.
Actually, one of my drill instructors, she got in trouble for actually touching somebody. So
touching,
a recruit. So like he talked back or something like that. And she slapped him.
Okay, so like corporal punishment, basically.
Yeah. Not allowed anymore.
Yeah.
And they all kind of like bitched about that, about like,
Mhm.
oh man, back in our day, you used to get hit,
Yeah.
or like
We used to
they
give
threw
you
you
a
out of
good
threat.
caning. Yeah.
Yeah, basically,
I
but
see.
not really allowed anymore.
I went through basic training for 4 months
Mm.
because I got dropped from my first platoon. And that happens to some people. I don't know why I got dropped. This is the first award I ever got in the Marine Corps, and it's because I got Iron Woman. So it
Oh,
says perfect 600, 600. I graduated with a meritorious promotion.
nice.
And I had like a 19-minute 3 mile, 10 pull ups, and other stuff that just like beat the other girls. We were only
Yeah.
competing against other girls. I wasn't
Right.
competing with the guys. There was a
Right. Right.
female platoon and a male platoon.
Mhm.
And then when you graduate, you get like this little crucible coin. It's
Mhm.
like I like my little. I don't know. I like the little coin. I was like,
Yeah, the
this
little
is
challenge
nice.
coin. That's fun.
When I came from one platoon to another platoon, I noticed the second platoon, they didn't work out like hardly any. And
Oh,
the other one, I was getting like IT'd all the time. But I like to work out. So I
yeah.
was like, I want to take this experience as something to really, really challenge me physically.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I get it's a mental challenge, but I didn't talk the entire time. Like, you're not really allowed to talk. So I was just
Oh.
getting screamed at and I was working out. And it wasn't the worst thing in the world, but
At least you know what you're gonna get. Yeah.
I
So,
dropped my cup. Then
so
you go
you,
to combat training. So I
yeah.
graduated with a meritorious promotion. I went to combat training. Combat training was so much fun. It was just a month. You get like 1 week of leave before you go to combat training. So
Mm.
I came back home, saw my mom. She was like, "Oh my God, you're so skinny." I was like 117 pounds. I
Wow.
looked like like ripped Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. After that, they sent me to I go to combat training,
Mhm.
and combat training was so much fun. Like, I really never will forget it.
Do you like
I
shoot
made like
machine
some
guns at dummies or something? Like, what did that look like?
like blank rounds.
Yeah.
Basically, I was on the machine gun with this guy named Parker. We were both the machine gunner. So it's either like I was carrying the M240 or he was
Hmm.
or so, like not the entire time. And I was also good friends with these two people, Escobedo and Roberts, and they made me laugh
Hmm.
more than I laugh like in my entire life. It was the funniest thing.
Yeah.
Like, and we would literally sleep in holes next to each other. Like, it
Mhm.
was fun. The machine gunner guy Parker, he was right next to me, and like we fell asleep. We woke up to like a like an ambush, and we had to like fight them off. It was
Oh, that's interesting.
it was funny because
So like you're like
all,
simulating
I don't
like
know.
war fighting, like battles, like in the middle of like what the wilderness, the woods, like.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's like fake smoke grenades that are thrown, and
Oh wow.
there's like a bunch of like fire. We're like,
Yeah.
it's
What
funny.
did anything like stick out to you as like something that like you had never done before and you loved it, or anything that you'd never done before and you hated it? Curious about both those things.
I never had to take like getting talked down to by the lunch ladies. I remember that. They like
Yeah.
people would joke with me. They're like, "Thanks, Stimson. They're so mean to you." I'm like, "Yeah, probably. I don't know. Like, I don't know what's going on. I can't be like, shut up."
Right.
Because like you gotta be respectful to everybody. But
Mhm.
those lunch ladies at MCT, they did not like me.
Popped an
And-
attitude, huh?
But yeah, an attitude. I was like, "Good morning," and they're like, "Oh, good morning."
No, it isn't. It's a bad morning.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so be aware. And one thing that surprised me that I really liked, I got to go on a nighttime recon mission where we wore like night vision goggles, and
yeah,
we had
that's
like a recon sergeant like leading us. I'll never be as cool as those guys, but yeah.
So how it works is you finish basic training,
Mhm.
do your little parade and retreat and whatnot, and then as soon as possible they ship you off to. It could actually sometimes be the same base that you did basic training at.
Yeah.
They ship you to another unit.
Okay.
A lot of these units are based in Texas, and
Mhm.
you end up going to that squadron. It's a residential school. Like you live there in residence several months. It is faster than regular like
College or
civilian
whatever,
technical
yeah.
school, because
Okay, yeah.
they do not teach you any like math, none of the like high school general education stuff. They expect you to know that already. I mean, you'll be typically doing 5 days a week classes, hands-on classroom stuff. It really depends on what you're going in for, but it's always, at least in the 3 different schools I went through, it was classroom and normal hands-on things.
Yeah.
It is, you don't really get a lot of certifications. It depends on the course. Sometimes you do get certifications, sometimes you just get trained up to the military standard of, okay, like airman so and so knows enough so that when he gets to his final duty station, you get the rest of the on-the-job training.
Yeah,
because
you can pick up the rest of it as you're learning how to do it while you're doing
yes.
it. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
When you choose your job, that's before you actually go to boot camp.
Okay.
And they wait for your slot in school to ship you out to boot camp. So I originally signed up as a nuke, but I had some issues with the job I wanted to go into and like the clearance that I was trying to get. So they put me into a non-nuclear position. They just made me a mechanic, basically.
You're doing like repairs on a ship? Or
that's what I signed up for, yeah.
Okay.
I ended up doing something a little bit different, but yeah, so you get through boot camp and then you go off to your C school. That's what they call it, which is your secondary school that actually teaches you how to do your job.
Wow.
And for submarines, that's in Groton, Connecticut, if you're non-nuclear.
Right.
So the nuclear guys have specific training. They all say that they basically get like a college degree in 2 years. It's really, really...
It's all the same stuff, but on an accelerated timeline then.
Right, yeah. And those guys go through a lot of training. Even on the boat, they're constantly training. They work harder than everybody else on the boat. But they get really, really fat bonuses. They also have to stay in longer. But
so you never became one of those then?
No. Yeah, just because I got set on a different training track.
Gotcha.
A lot of the guys that I went to C school with were nukes that dropped out of the program because the program's really difficult. And
yeah, it sounds grueling. It sounds like it's fast-paced and dense. So,
yeah.
In my job, we do make tools for our own unit.
Yeah.
And these tools can be anything, but it takes the squadron commander's signature to sign off, which is actually a lot of steps. And it is kind of dumb when some of these tools are nothing more than a nut that could be found at Home Depot that we laser etched.
Right.
The serial number. It's like, this is what we did.
Yeah.
We need the squadron commander to sign off on a
So there's all this like red tape and like a chain of command that you have to go through, even if it's the most mundane thing, basically, right?
Yes. Actually, that reminds me, for removing one stuck screw from an aircraft panel, if I really wanted to game the system on like sheer idiocy, I can maximize it out to 7 signatures.
Wow. Just to remove a screw that's stuck in the wrong place.
Yes.
Wow.
That's taking it to an extreme. That's me deliberately taking the most obtuse route to do it. But yes.
Interesting. Wow. Does it also like drive up costs, do you think? Like it takes longer and I don't know, I'm just curious, like does it drive costs up and maybe timelines longer to have to do all that?
Yes. But also just, for example, a bolt that might be used to fasten a bracket down to something might have a very specific tensile strength that your average Joe Schmo bolt that you find at Brico March or Menards just isn't going to be held to the same standard too.
Okay. So like it's a higher standard of quality than the kind of commercial space.
Higher standard of compliance.
Okay.
Okay, that's one of the things that kind of gets some people, from what I've seen, and when they join specifically aircraft maintenance, is we get a lot of car guys, but they're used to fixing their beat up old Baki that's just or what they're like, they're broken ass ute, and if their ute breaks down on the side of the motorway, it's okay, it's their money, and they're on the side of the road. Yes. If we get an IFE, they're like 5,000 meters in the sky, and the engine's burning, and there's 33 people on board. Yeah.
That's like the stakes are a lot higher.
Yeah, the stakes are much worse.
If you want to talk about like, the meteorology thing, there's a thing called double MOS codes, and there's different things you can do with the Marines. I got a tab. This is my green belt.
What does it mean?
So it's called like being MAI, and my MOS code is 6842. But the more that you go into the Marines, the more that you can like kind of do things that you're actually interested in. And martial art instructor training course, I took that in the reserves. So
MAI is martial art instructor.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know what the acronyms are.
You teach. No, it's okay. That's like a good reminder. So you teach people different military like techniques of MCMAP, which is Marine Corps mixed martial arts combat program, whatever. Anyways, you teach them the different aspects of that, whether it's it's mental, character, and physical, and you train on those like 3 disciplines. And it was a 2-week training period. We did it every day. It was super fun. You can become an MAI instructor. That's a double MOS code right there.
Right.
You can become a MIQUIS, which is like a swim instructor. So you can teach people swim. You can become a marksmanship instructor, marksmanship coach. So if you like to shoot rifles and you want to teach people on how to do that, you can shoot rifles just like that, Daniel. I think that was like, good form.
Good form, yeah. I think I made the target, hit the target there.
Wow, that was incredible, probably. And martial arts.
So what'd you end up teaching or learning how to teach?
I haven't taught anybody yet, but I did get the opportunity to like get two Marines at our unit their certificates that somebody like failed to send in. So I like picked up the slack of like where the other MAI left off, and I tested them out. It takes a while to like test Marines and all the different techniques that require you to belt up. It's kind of like karate. It's like you have to show different techniques. Like, like
mixed
when you
martial arts.
In karate. It's like you have to do that for like each technique. There's like.
Oh, right. Yeah, I did Taekwondo. We had these exams where you'd go through like 20 different like, all those different things. I'm sure it's just like that, right?
Yeah. It's a little bit like that.
Yeah.
One of the things that I did was one of the things like new guys do is they drive the boat. So there's a bunch of stuff you have to learn about that. Basically, your first year on the boat is just learning about the boat. And there are these big lockers filled with these books called SSMs, service manuals. And you basically have to memorize a large portion of them.
Gotcha.
Basically just reading your whole first year. So you have to get qualified in submarines. That's specific to submarine. But all this stuff is completely different depending on which service you go into and what job you do and what type of boat you're attached to.
In any case, you can expect to like really dive deep into like some niche proprietary knowledge is kind of the gist, right?
Yeah. Well, you have to learn about each system. You have to learn about safety stuff for each system. You do a lot of firefighting stuff because if a submarine catches on fire and you don't handle it immediately, everybody on the ship is basically dead.
Yeah.
You have to learn about every ship system. And then you have to go really into detail on whatever your division's stuff is. So I had to learn a bunch about torpedoes and how the torpedo launch system works and stuff like that. Even more detail than the sea school goes into.
I would just say people have to do a lot of research.
Do your research.
Yes. And talk to people who are currently in. I mean, we live in the age of Reddit and Discord, and you can crowdsource information.
That's right.
Like just go on Reddit and just ask, because you'll probably get all of the salty complaints because they're not there to shill for the Air Force. They're probably all on the toilet just complaining about work, or they're in the bread van on the flight line.
Yeah, they're venting about the things they're pissing them off. Yeah.
And they should have concrete ideas of what they want, but at the same time, I would heavily stress that they should be prepared for those expectations to either change, not be fulfilled, or like just mutate entirely.
Yeah.
I would also stress to people to consider Guard and Reserve, but also understand that when they say Guard and Reserve, they like to say, "Oh, you just work the weekend." That's not necessarily true. It depends on the unit. I had a buddy in the Navy Reserves. He ended up with like a 14-month deployment to Djibouti.
Oh, wow.
Yes. The Guard unit I'm joining they were just straight up to me like, "Hey, you're going to be going TDY deployment quite a lot." Some units, entirely depends on the unit, job, but I would stress people considering Guard and Reserve because they usually have a bit more control in terms of career.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, because you get to usually pick your job.
But there is that risk, because you're kind of being held in reserve, that in fact you may be deployed. Like they need you at some point. They'll reach into their reserves and pluck you out of it, right?
Yeah, some people do like that. So like there are sub-guard units that have the most insane amount of deployments underneath their belts.
Yeah.
So for me, it was exactly what I needed. It helped me get the financials that I needed. It helped me pay for my college by myself. I'm going to be out of school debt-free. I would not recommend it for anybody that, works hard enough in high school to get a scholarship. It felt like a large investment of time.
Oh, for sure.
For what I got out of it.
For sure.
And there's a lot of stuff you're going to have to deal with transitioning back to civilian life.
Okay. Like what? How would you say that was for you?
For me, it was pretty easy because I spent like 3 years being a civilian before I went into the Navy. Civilian. But a lot of guys are going from high school to the Navy, then trying to be an adult and, trying to figure out everything you need to do. Probably not easy. And some of like the mental changes that you have to go through, like self-management rather than somebody telling you every single thing that you need to do.
The structure. How do you self-regulate your behavior?
Yes.
The Marines is a good institution with some bad qualities. It truly will beat you down. But it depends on you, how you build yourself up. Like, is that going to affect your character in a good way or a bad way? Are you the type of person that like wants that kind of treatment to be intense and like, I can see how it can really shape somebody to be a better person. But for me, I wasn't going in like a juvenile delinquent.
Right.
I'm not, like, I come from a good family. Like I wasn't somebody that needed to be fixed, but everybody is looked at as somebody that needs to be fixed. But if you don't think that the methods of training that the Marines use are effective for you personally, such as screaming, intense amounts of like physical pain that can be motivational to some, but like detrimental to others, then just don't join. Like there's no shame in it. It's not for everybody. But you could go in and make a career out of it.
Right.
So just, I mean, I've met some really, really great people and I've met some horrible people. But that's going to be true no matter where you go. Like civilian career, any place.
But yeah, that's good advice. I appreciate that. All right.
If I've offended anybody, I don't care.
You have been watching